So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play some games laddering up the deck because we got knocked down after the season end, and just see if I can show you some important ideas and some important tactics. So this hand is of course a keeper. We have the 1-drop. We actually have 2 1-drops, and having the 1-drop is one of the most important things for this deck. So in this position you want to play the vampire first because it has death touch. If they shock it or something like that, it's the less valuable target than the knight, because we need the knight for the end game. And because it has death touch, then people tend to not block it. I'm actually going to talk a little bit about blocking and the psychology that this deck really exploits. Okay, so he's playing the Lovestruck Beast. We will then attack into this 1/1 and offer a trade, because the Lovestruck Beast needs the 1/1 to attack and put us under pressure. And we have no reason to keep the vampire because if we make this trade and we can play the Knight of the Ebon Legion, we will be ahead on board and be able to put more pressure with the Bloodthirsty Aerialists for the next game. So in this position, I don't think they're going to block because they need the 1/1, but they could. Okay, they are going to block, so they want to protect their life total, and also probably they are afraid of spectacle spells like Drill Bit. People are sleeping a lot on Drill Bit, and so a lot of people don't know to block those attacks. I think I'm just going to attack my knight into this guy. He can't block, he can't attack, but if he has like another Lovestruck Beast, he can just create a 1/1. And even though we are not too concerned with our life total, also this is it's like 75% of free attack, because people very rarely block. And that's very important for this deck. We are exploiting the fact that people want their sweet combos to work. They want their cards to work. They don't want to have them get blown out by some random kill spell or something like that. And that means that 80% of the time, 90% of the time, you can just bluff attacks. This is not a real bluff, because we can give our knight death touch, so it'll just be a trade. And if we draw into a land, we have the Rankle, and if we don't, we have tons of plays. This position is not particularly good for us, though. We would like, in turn 3, we'd like to have a dominating board state, and as it turned out, we just have nothing, basically. Okay, so here we have the Innkeeper, and this guy is basically a win condition in a way for them, because they can draw a ton of cards. So we want to be able to play the Bloodthirsty Aerialist or double spell. I think I will play the Bloodthirsty Aerialist, because then next turn I may be able to play the Knight of the Ebon Legion and then use Curry Favor from the Smitten Swordmaster to put a +1/+1 counter on the Bloodthirsty Aerialist. You really want to get those +1/+1 counters on the Bloodthirsty Aerialist, because if you don't, then this creature is just terrible. This creature, the only way to justify this creature in any way, shape, or form is to get a lot of +1/+1 counters and just be really vigilant about every single place you can get a +1/+1 counter. Like, that's worth so much more than you would think, because this deck is a every point of damage counts kind of deck. So we have a lot of. Also, we can draw into a land, then we can attack with Rankle. If he doesn't play a creature, we can attack with Rankle and then force him to sacrifice the Innkeeper. Then we will sacrifice our own Bloodthirsty Aerialist, but we will still be ahead on board, and we will have tons and tons of plays for later. We did draw the land. We are going to attack. We just thinking about what possible spells he could have. We had he could have. I don't think in a deck like this actually that he will have instant speed removal that can deal with Rankle actually. So we could consider discarding a card, but he didn't play a spell, so I don't think that we want to. But we will have him sacrifice the Innkeeper. Probably he has been trying to set up a turn where he can play a lot of adventure creatures and just use the Innkeeper. So we don't want that to happen. So we want to get rid of the Innkeeper, and we are willing to give up our area list. Also, we have tons and tons of plays for the next turn. So we are giving up the area list. And I would say the position is about 50-50. I think I'm about 50% to win this at this point. So I am ahead on board. I also have like a pretty good Mythic in play. The problem is his deck, he has big mana now, so he's beginning to do the stuff where he's drawing a million cards and he's getting his combos to work, and a lot of those games we will be losing. So even though it looks like we are superficially ahead because we're ahead on board and have a slightly better life total, pressuring him a little bit, we're just give me a second, just seeing like he needs a way to kill Rankle, because otherwise I can just keep putting creatures into play and having him sacrifice these Beanstalk giants. So he needs something like some kill spell, some maybe double Bone Crusher Giant or something like that. And he does have some exile effects, and he has some. So yeah, maybe we are a little less than 50% to win this game. Here it's interesting if I should play the Bloodthirsty area list. I will play the Bloodthirsty area list, and I will play the Knight of the Ebon Legion, I think, because no, I will play this guy, because it's what pressures his life total the most, and I can choose to sacrifice him. And I think I will be drawing a card here, because he has so many cards in hand, so he's not going to play all of them anyways, and I really need more cards in hand. Also, it gives him that single point of damage, and that should not be underestimated. I know it sounds really silly, but this deck is all about every single point of damage, and if you in any way can justify it, I think you basically want to do that. I think you basically want to get all the justifiable damage in, and I think drawing a card here was better for us than it was for him, and now it's just really interesting to see how much he can do with his big mana. So he has a million. Okay, so he's using the Lucky Clover, double Bone Crusher Giant, killing Rankle. That is going to be a problem, but it's not. I can't say that was a big surprise that he had some answer for that guy. He's kind of the kind of card that demands an answer, really. He's getting a single point of life, but I think we are still pretty much in the game still, because he will lose some of those cards that he has in hand right now. Because he only has this turn to play them. Okay, he's playing Incubation. That's a good play for him. Good, efficient way to use all of the mana, and basically, okay, this was really nice. So we just have to set up the turn correctly. So what we do is we are going to put the Bloodthirsty area list in play first. Very important. Because then both of the Bloodthirsty area lists will get a +1/+1 counter, absolutely key. Then we will attack, that will enable Spectacle, then we will play the Spawn of Mayhem, and that will be a very good position for us, but he still has a lot of cards in hand, of course. So I think we are about 50% to win this game still, probably more actually in this position, because he's not playing white, so he's not have he doesn't have the he's not able to get the Shadow the Sky, which is basically the kill spell here. Okay, he can probably he needs to. Okay, yeah. So what he's doing is he's fighting my Spawn of Mayhem. That is not the worst thing that could happen, actually. And now we are winning. We just have to set this up correctly. So every single point of damage is important. And we play the knight here first. It's important. Now we have 2 knights in play. We are going to then use the curry favor. That is going to pump both of our give +1/+1 counters to both of those guys. And he's at 8, so and he's tapped out. There's no way he can get back from this. And so that's, kind of shows how those +1/+1 counters are really, really important. And it also kind of shows how every single point of damage matters. And if you can justify the damage, I mean, don't sacrifice your whole board for a single point of damage, but evaluate closely, like, is it okay to draw a card here, even though my opponent also draws a card with Rankle? Does it benefit me more than it benefits my opponent? How much do I gain from him losing that point of life? How much am I pressuring his life total? Because in this deck, you just want to be pressuring the life total at all times. So that's lesson 1 from this game and on how to play this deck. Okay, so let's recap here. So lesson number 1, every single point of damage counts in this deck. So when you are evaluating, even getting in for a single point of damage, then you have to put more weight on that than you would normally do in, say, a control deck. It is, or a combo deck. It is worth way more. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, setting the turns up correctly for the Bloodthirsty Aerialists. The Bloodthirsty Aerialists are not a particularly good card. You have to make them good. And the only way to do that is to use the curry favors, is to use the life gain everywhere you can. Just evaluate very closely, because connecting to lesson 1, where every single point of damage counts, a +1/+1 counter will always, not always, but very often translate into a single point of damage. So set the turns up correctly, use the curry favors and other life gain effects wisely. Number 3, keep your opponent under pressure and keep his board down if possible. Rankle is very good for this. You saw how we got rid of his Innkeeper that would have drawn him a lot of cards and would have probably won him the game. So we were absolutely willing to sacrifice our Aerialist, even though she would have given more damage to our opponent. But we didn't want him to get his engine running. That's also when you are trying to get in with the drill bit. It can be very tempting if he has just one spell that he's going to play for the foreseeable future, but he has a Shadow the Sky that he can play if he draws the lands. You're just almost always going to take either the sweeper, or you are going to take the most important combo piece, even if it looks like he's not going to play it in the foreseeable future. Because you can deal with the stuff on the board. You have powerful creatures and you are pressuring him. You can deal with the stuff on the board. Playing against Embercleave, you want to get rid of the Embercleave. You want to, even though it'll take some time before he can make that attack. Just take the combo piece or take the sweeper. So that is it for this lesson. See you in the next one.